Welcome to the Am I Rich Yet podcast, where we help millennials and Gen Zs spend, save, and grow their money smarter. Welcome to today's episode. We are on episode 7, which is one of our savings episodes. It's part 3. If you missed the first 2, check back to last week and the week before to hear the first 2. My name is Georgia. I'm one of your co-hosts. I am a Gen Z. I am currently an MBA student studying at the University of Sydney, and I'm navigating my personal finances.
I'm Rob, Georgia's dad, recently retired financial advisor, and I'm here to help you make your smart decisions with your money.
All right, well, let's jump in. How are you doing today? What's going on? What's new in the world of Rob?
Well, I'm just admiring your hat. I really like it.
Yeah?
You know what's unique about that? The only course that I've played in the world, and I've played a lot of golf courses, where there's kangaroos throughout the entire course.
Okay.
And they're on the tee box, they're sitting beside the green, they're in the sand trap, they're hopping through the sand trap. It's a lot of fun.
Did they hop on the green?
They hop right across the green.
They're
kind
like
of fun. And, most of the time they're lying down, sleeping, and often they're in groups. Not sure what a kangaroo group is called, but
Something Mom would know.
your mom would definitely know that. She seems to know what groups of animals are, no matter what the type of animal it is.
Well, you're going to ask me how my day is?
No.
All right.
I already gave you enough
into
attention
it.
with the hat.
Let's jump into it then. So today we are on episode 7. Like I said, we are still covering savings. So this is part 3. This week and next week, we are going to be covering the questions that came in from our viewers. We've gathered all the questions together and we will be covering them in a rapid fire style over this episode and next. So we can jump right into it here. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
How ready?
Fire away.
How ready on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'm a 10.
Okay, he's ready, everyone. So, first question. There are so many different kinds of saving accounts. How do I know which one is best for me?
So as we briefly touched on last podcast, there are a ton of accounts. And they've all got different rules, regulations. So the question is a great question. There are so many types of accounts, especially savings accounts. First thing is, what is the goal? What are you trying to accomplish? Are you saving for a house down payment? Are you saving for retirement? Are you saving to reduce your tax bill? Or are you just plain saving? So depending on what your primary goal and maybe your secondary goal, that will help to determine which type of account, and we'll get into that a little further. So I would start with, let's say you're saving for a house. The first priority should be your first home savings account. I would get it set up definitely as soon as possible. And you can put in $8,000. If you have a partner, they could also put in $8,000 every year. And from here on, you're going to be able to put in $8,000. So that's a great place to start. We talked about its advantages. The money grows tax-free, and you get an RRSP deduction, and you get to put that money into your first house right away. And it needs to be first house. Can't apply to a second property. Next account, I would go with the RRSP. You can do what's called an RRSP home buyer's loan, where you basically borrow that money from your RRSP, put it towards the house, and you have to pay it back over 15 years. So the only thing you're missing out is the compounding of that money when it would be in your RRSP. But in theory, that money is in your house and is compounding there as well. So those two things can help reduce the amount of money that you need to borrow in terms of a mortgage from the bank to buy your first home. So those would be my 2 starting points. Third one would be the tax-free savings account. Any extra savings money you had, I would put it into a TFSA. The money grows free of tax. You don't lose the contribution room. So those are 3 primary accounts to save for a house.
Awesome. And just to clarify, if you are in that bracket of not necessarily knowing if it's a house or a retirement fund that you should be saving for, you would recommend the general savings, which is go for your TFSA, put it in there.
Depending on your income. If your income is really low, $30,000, you're not going to save a lot of tax by putting it into an RRSP. So you may just put it into your TFSA account. If your income is $60,000 and above, the RRSP makes more sense than the TFSA because you're going to get a tax refund, which you could then put into your TFSA. So if you put $6,000 into your RSP and you're at a 30% tax rate, you get back 30% of six, which is $1,800. You could then put that into your tax-free savings account. So now you have $7,800 working for you.
Okay, so for the people that hear that and might have a bit of let's say they're in that bracket of making $60K or more a year, and you're recommending an RRSP, but maybe some hesitation comes from the fact that you can't take out that cash whenever you want. But what you're saying is the tax return that you'll get on that, you can then invest that into your TFSA.
You can take RSP money out, okay? The problem is if you've got $50,000 in an RSP and you take out $15,000, you're going to pay additional tax that year above your regular income. It's going to cost you, if you're in the 40% tax bracket, it's going to cost you 40% of 15 or $6,000 in tax. So it's not that you can't take money out of an RSP, it's just expensive to do it.
Got it. Okay.
What if you're saving for taxes? Okay, so that's a great question. If you're saving for taxes, the first home savings and the RSP are the two best because you get a tax refund. TFSA, there is no tax refund. So the other two would take priority. So it would be RSP if you're not saving for a home, first if you are saving for a home, and then first home savings, and then finally would be that TFSA. Reducing your tax bill is just as important as getting a good rate of return on your investments.
The writer writes in, if I'm 30 and want to do an MBA and have $100K in savings to afford it, can I deplete my savings account? How do I know how much I can take out for an appropriate expense?
Georgia, you just did exactly this. What's your take on this? Now that you're 3/4 of the way through your degree.
Well, the listeners are here to listen to you, but some things that come to mind, first is that an MBA should increase your earning potential. So there's value on the other end there.
Okay, so earning, I would definitely agree. Probably the most important thing about your MBA is it's going to increase your earnings potential.
Like any master's degree.
Absolutely. And no one can ever take that away from you. Whenever you go apply for a new job or go for a bank loan and it says MBA on it, you've got an advantage over everybody else.
Or any other degree.
For sure. I think what you need to make sure is you've got a little bit of a backup plan. You need to leave some money aside, whether it's a line of credit that you have access to, or you leave some money in a TFSA account or an RSP account. You want a fallback position because you're not working, you're in school, it's a lifestyle change, and depending where you go to get your MBA, it's not cheap. You may have had to move to a different location. You chose to move to a different location. You could have done it in Toronto, but that's up to everyone's got a different program that they're going to apply to and that they want, and maybe a specialty that they want. Mm-hmm. So that would be my comment on it. I think you can deplete your savings, but leave yourself $10,000, $20,000 of flexibility somewhere.
Got it.
Because you might not get a job right away. The economy could be down and it may take time to get the job that you really want.
So nice. Pursue your continued studies, continued education, but maybe don't drain your savings account to zero. Give yourself some wiggle room, like 10 or 20K. Next question, what's the right approach to managing lifestyle inflation as our incomes grow? How much should we increase our spending versus increase our savings?
So here's my take. You don't need to go over the top. So you've got a 10% pay increase. Increase your savings by 10%. So if you're saving $1,000 a month, it's now $1,100 a month, an extra $100 a month. If you wanted, you could put 50% towards savings. I mean, if you're saving for a house and you want to get in there within a few years, you probably need to save more than just that 10%. That's how I would. Every time you get a pay raise, you should increase your savings rate.
Proportionally.
Because otherwise, you're going to fall further and further behind. Your savings, you won't be saving that 15%. If you just increase your savings, the amount of your pay raise, the two are going to match. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
And like we said in a different episode, you almost forget that money even existed. So you increase your savings proportionally, you still have extra, free cash for you to spend how you please, and you're still kind of getting that feeling of, hey, I just got a bonus, I just got a promotion, a raise at work, and I'm making a bit more?
So it depends how that raise came. Did you get a lump sum? If you got a lump sum, then you should put whatever your savings rate is into the investment itself as a lump sum. You receive $10,000, take $1,000 or $1,500 and put it into the investment account that you're saving in, okay? If it's just a pay raise, it's going to come over a period of 12 months, then just do the dollar cost averaging.
Yep.
Increase that by the 10, 15, 20%.
Okay, awesome. So next question. I work a 9-to-5 job making just shy of $80K a year. However, most of that money is leaving my bank account faster than it comes. On top of working my full-time job, I'm an artist funding and investing in my entire career. There's not much reward right now. My biggest concern is figuring out how to properly budget for not only my artist needs, but also my ability to save for the future.
My take on this is pretty straightforward. I think when you've got conflicting things, the easiest solution, and you're never going to be wrong here, is to do both. Save a little bit for long-term savings, put some money aside for your artistry. Because we know artists don't make a lot of money in this country. Sometimes you can, but it's a long haul to get there. So maybe you're saving to both. You're never going to make a wrong decision if you split it. You could make a wrong decision if you put it all towards long-term savings, and then you got to pay taxes to get that money out, and you put nothing aside for your secondary career. So that would be my take on that.
The next question here is, help me to understand what it means to max out your TFSA and RRSP.
If you log in to the Canada Revenue Agency website, you can find out how much TFSA room you have remaining and how much RRSP room you have remaining. When you receive your notice of assessment from filing your taxes the previous year, which is called an NOA, you get a number that shows how much you can contribute to your RRSP. There's a couple of different places you can find that information. Maxing it out means by the end of the year, you've used up all of your contribution room. Not just for that year, but since it was available. Georgia, you might have $30,000 worth of RRSP room. If you put $30,000 in this year or next year, you may have maxed it out. You've used all of that room. If you've only put $10,000 in, you haven't maxed it out.
Yep.
Same applies to the TFSA.
And is it optimal to max it out?
Absolutely. It's your choice. But again, we went back to what are the advantages of doing it? The more you can put in, the more you can save, the better off you are.
For sure. Okay, awesome. And what was the name of that website again that you can go to?
CRA website.
Okay.
A little complicated to get in. You'll need your previous year's tax return because they ask you to line number 177 and line number 253. Got to have your social insurance number. May take you a week to get access to it. Once you have it, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, there we go. Next, I'm looking to get into investing. Where should I start? What are the pros and cons / differences between an RRSP, TFSA, and a first-time homebuyer's account?
Okay, so we've covered this pretty much all over, but if you're just getting started, go back to that, what's the big priority? Okay, this is very similar to the earlier question we had. What's your main priority? Start with that first. If you can't decide whether you're going to have a home, then maybe you have two priorities. Put some money in the RRSP, put some money in the first home savings. Get the tax money back, put it into the TFSA. So that's sort of a three-prong approach, and you're not just taking advantage of the first home savings, you're not just taking advantage of the RRSP, you're taking advantage of all three accounts and the tax differences in them. So that would be my recommendation. Figure out the priority. If you can't, then divide it up a third, a third, a third.
Right. And if you're someone that's still trying to, like you said, figure out what their priorities are, would you recommend talking to friends and family? What would be your take for someone?
Well, you might think, okay, why am I saving for a home? I don't want to buy a house myself. I don't have a partner right now. So it doesn't seem like a priority. But, 2 months from now, you meet a partner and they're ready to move into a house pretty soon and you want to contribute and you don't have $1 in your first home savings account, you're at a disadvantage. So I would leave your options open.
Leave your options open.
As we said, almost 2/3 of Canadians have their own home. So, you probably want to head in that direction.
Okay, awesome. Last question for this episode. When I have money I would like to put into savings, how should I prioritize organizing them into different savings accounts?
If your income's low, TFSA is a great account. You don't need the tax savings. You're probably only saving 15 to 20% on your tax and your contribution. So you're better putting money into that TFSA. And then there's no tax implications when you need that money. If you're buying the first home, we talked about that. First home savings account, RRSP account, and then TFSA. If you're in a high income, you want to save taxes. RRSP, first home savings, then the TFSA. So isn't it interesting how the priority, depending on your priorities and your income level, each account is a little bit different. If you're making north of $100,000, you've got a tax problem. So definitely RRSP, definitely first home savings. If you've already got your first home or condo, then maybe what you're doing is you're just maximizing that RRSP. We talked about that, using up your full limit, then doing your TFSA. It all depends on your priorities.
And I think it's really helpful for people to see, I think there's this narrative that you should just know exactly which accounts you should be saving into, and that, it seems hard and it seems scary to some people. But the reality is, once you take a step back and kind of look and understand that if you're making this much, this is a good option for you. Or if these are your lifestyle priorities, this one would be a good option for you. It starts to make it a bit more straightforward.
And I think what I would take from this, not everyone understands this stuff. It's Greek to a lot of people. It's like a foreign language. And that is completely normal. Half the population aren't numbers people. They don't understand all these different accounts and the numbers and all that. Just the same way some of us don't understand art. Can't write a good sentence if we tried. Can't even speak a good sentence if we tried. So we all have our skills and strengths. Some people don't have the financial skill. Probably you're better suited one day to have a financial advisor.
Right.
But we'll talk about that later on.
Yeah, and I think another thing to note is that, just because you're not a numbers person, or, math wasn't your strongest subject in school, doesn't mean you can't learn this stuff. I mean, we're talking about it. We're having everyday conversation about it here. Our listeners are one step ahead of everyone around them who isn't trying to learn more about this stuff.
I got an idea for our 27th podcast. We're going to do a pop quiz. No studying. And you're doing the pop quiz. And we'll see how you do.
We already gave them homework. We can't give them pop quizzes.
Okay,
we're going to be canceled.
Okay, so what are we covering next?
Okay, next podcast, we're going to be covering the second series of questions around savings. We are looking forward to seeing you next week.
See you next week.